Perceive, process, perform. Do you need inspiration for your practice, or do you simply need to practice inspiration? With this series, we aim to do both. Give us 15 minutes and we'll give you practice inspiration.
Hi, I'm Gary Takacs. I'm here at the 25th Annual Seattle Study Club Symposium. Very excited to share a practice inspiration with you. And to start with, I want to recognize that our profession absolutely rocks. Dentistry rocks. Why do I say that dentistry rocks? I say dentistry rocks because we get the opportunity to change people's lives every day. You know, think about how many people can actually say that the work they get to do gets to change people's lives every day. So I want to take a minute and recognize all of you in dentistry, regardless of what position you're in, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a dental assistant, whether you're a hygienist, perhaps a front desk team member, perhaps you work in sterilization. I want to recognize the important work that you do every day. And let's remember that dentistry absolutely rocks. I'm going to share with you 3 specific tips to develop a thriving practice in 2018 and beyond. But before I do that, I want to start with the end in mind. You know, one of my mentors was the late Stephen Covey. And you've probably read his book. If you haven't, you should. He wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And habit number 2 was begin with the end in mind. I want to begin with the end in mind. I want to start with 6 goals for a thriving practice. Let me go ahead and outline those 6 goals for you. Number 1, overhead no higher than 60%, ideally 50%. Number 2, the ability to fully fund some kind of a pension plan so you can create financial independence from your practice. Number 3, I want you to have all the technology that makes dentistry fun for you and allows you to provide a better result for your patient. I want you to have a generous CE budget. I want you to use the best labs if you use outside labs, have the latest technology, and still control your overhead at 60% or less. It just got a lot harder, didn't it? Ideally 50%. Number 4, I want you to have a high-performance team you truly love and enjoy working with. Number 5, I want you to have patients you enjoy taking care of. And number 6, I want you to have a treatment mix that gives you satisfaction. You know, that last one has to be self-defined because dentists like different aspects of treatment. Some dentists love doing endodontic therapy. Other dentists love doing long cosmetic appointments. So I want you to do the kind of treatment that you love. I think you would agree that if you could achieve those 6 goals, you would have a thriving practice. And I'm here to say that every one of those goals is absolutely achievable. Now, they're not easy, but they are absolutely achievable. Now, let's talk about those 3 tips that allow you to develop a thriving practice in 2018 and beyond. Number 1, use digital photos for patient education. I'm going to go ahead and list these tips, and then I'm going to go over each one in a little bit more detail. So number 1, use digital photos for patient education. Number 2, create a remarkable new patient experience, a remarkable new patient experience. When a new patient comes in your practice, I want them to leave your office and say, wow, I've never been taken care of like that before. I can't wait to tell everyone I know about this practice. And number 3, know your data. Know your data. I'm going to share some insights with you that'll help you understand what's happening in your practice in real time. Let's go ahead and cover those in a little bit more detail. Now, the first one, we talked about digital photos for patient education. I want to frame it by saying this. You've all heard this saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And that's the entire concept behind these digital photos. And I want to emphasize these are digital photos, not intraoral photos, but these are digital photos. And in order to be effective, your system for these digital photos must be simple. It must be something we can do simply and quickly with your new patients. So I'm going to suggest a series of 6 digital photos. First one is a head and shoulders shot. The second one is a close-up retracted view. You're going to take that in the viewfinder. We want the middle of the nose, middle of chin, middle of cheeks. You're going to take that from a very close angle. Number 3, we're going to borrow a chapter from our friends the orthodontist. We're going to take an upper occlusal view using the hourglass-shaped mouth mirror. Number 4, we're going to take the lower occlusal view, again using the hourglass-shaped mouth mirror. We're not taking a picture of the teeth. You're taking a picture of the reflection of the teeth in the mirror. Number 5, the left buccal corridor. And number 6, the right buccal corridor. Now with those left and right buccal corridors, the patient simply holds a retractor and you point the camera about 45 degrees down the buccal corridor to get the angle that you want. Your assistant should take those photos, and the simple reason for that is that she can. You can be in the other room, doctor, hopefully with a handpiece in your hand, providing treatment to another patient. But your assistant should take those photos. And again, the reason why we take those photos are many people in the world are visually oriented and they process information best by visual means. Now, we've been using those photos in my own practice for over 10 years. And what's so cool about the photos is they open up a dialogue with the patients, and the patients get to see their teeth in a way they've never seen before. They've never seen before. And it's so cool when the patient starts to ask you, doctor, I noticed that I have some crowding in my teeth. Is there anything I can do about that? The entire purpose of these photos is to create ice-breaking conversations for the patient to ask you to tell them what's going on in their mouth, and lets you be able to tell them what can be done to improve the issues that they have. This is the camera that we use in our practice. It's a simple camera. It has a light diffuser that allows us to get light on the intraoral photos here, but a very simple, a dental point and shoot camera. Now, I want to suggest a ninja hack here, a ninja hack that is going to turbocharge the effectiveness of these digital photos. Rather than uploading these photos onto a monitor and have the patient looking at the monitor, which is useful, but a way more effective approach is to upload those photos onto a tablet, place the tablet in the patient's lap, and allow them to convert the experience from a passive experience of looking at the monitor to an active experience. So here's what we do. So we upload those photos onto an iPad or a tablet, so that the experience becomes interactive. And we make, this is very important, this is theatrical, but it's very important. We make an excuse to leave the room. So Carly, my new patient coordinator, let's say I was the patient, she'd hand me the tablet. She said, Gary, remember when I took the photos of you earlier in the appointment? So I put these on the tablet. The tablet works just like your smartphone. If you want to see the next picture, just take your finger and flick it. If you want to zoom in, just take your fingers and pinch out, and you can zoom in to infinity. Now, doctor and I need to take a look at the radiographs. While we're out of the room, would you do me a favor and take a look at these photos? And while you're looking at those photos, make a mental note of any questions you have. And when doctor and I come back, we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Now, we really don't need to leave the room. We're doing this for theatric reasons. But by leaving the room, the patient will then get into those photos. It converts it to an active experience. They zoom in, and it's a very rare experience when the doctor walks back in the room. It's a very rare experience where the patient isn't firing, doctor, what about this? What about that? What about this? And it becomes such a cool interaction because now the patient is expressing interest to you about what's going on in their mouth. Doctors, I think you would agree. If you have to start from scratch and approach a patient from scratch about, say, cosmetic dentistry, that can be a difficult conversation to approach from scratch if the patient hasn't expressed interest. But doctor, imagine if the patient says, doctor, I didn't realize my lower teeth were so crowded. Is there anything we can do about that? It's an entirely different dynamic when the patient's asking you questions. So tip number 1, use digital photos for patient education. Let's go to tip number 2. I'm going to talk about creating a remarkable new patient experience. And I want to frame it with this wonderful Maya Angelou quote. We all remember Maya Angelou. Sadly, she passed away last year, but I want to give her credit for this amazing insight. And it goes like this. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And I want everything you do in the new patient experience to center around this concept, to leave the patient with a remarkable new patient experience. I'm using the term remarkable in 2 ways. One, in the literal sense of saying, wow, that's remarkable. But the second reason has much more of a 2018 reference. The word remarkable, I want the patient to leave and want to remark to others about the great experience they had. Now, the way people do that in 2018 is they leave reviews. So they'll go on Google, they'll go on Yelp, they'll go on Angie's List, perhaps they'll go on Health Grades, and hopefully they'll leave a glowing review that says, wow, I had an amazing experience at my dentist. So I want to share with you a homework assignment that I want you all to do. One of the things we do in our new patient experience is we start by taking the patient on a quick tour. Now let me tell you what the tour is not before I tell you what it is. The tour is not a behind the scenes, open every cupboard, show them every nook and cranny. It's not that. What the tour is a very quick 3-minute, perhaps 4 minutes if they're talkers, and we simply allows us to make a great first impression. And secondly, it allows us to subtly show people what's available in our practice without selling. So I would like you to come up with a 7 or 8 stop tour, 7 or 8 things that you can talk about in your practice. And I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate 2 of the elements of our tour. In our consultation room, we have a wall of fame at the back of the consultation room with many plaques and awards. And Carly, the new patient coordinator, will stop and point to the back of the wall, and she'll say, we have 2 great doctors here at Life Smiles Dental Care, Dr. Paul Nielsen and Dr. Tim Schmidt. What you're going to love about our doctors is they love taking advanced courses to stay on top of all the latest advances in dentistry. Just a few of the courses they've taken are represented by some of those plaques at the back of the wall. There's 2 that I want to point out in particular to you. The one on the upper left demonstrates that we have advanced training in sedation dentistry so that we can help our patients make every visit as comfortable as possible. The one on the upper right demonstrates that we have advanced training in dental implants. So if patients are missing a single tooth or even all of their teeth, we can help them with dental implants. The last stop of the tour. In the front office, we have traditional artwork. We actually have beautiful photography. We're in the Southwest, we're in Phoenix, so we have beautiful photography of Southwest setting, Sedona, Oak Creek Canyon, Grand Canyon, Lake Powell, and so on. In the back office, the only artwork that we have up are beautiful after photos, large after photos of patients that we've done extensive dentistry. Carly will stop by one of those photos and she'll say something like this. Although we are a general dental practice, our doctors and team members also have advanced training so that we can help patients with more advanced issues. Things like cosmetic dentistry, things like dental implants. All the photos you see here in the back office are actual patients of ours we've helped have the smile of their dreams. So there's tip number 2. Tip number 3, know your data. Know your data. The key talking point here is data never lies. People do, but data never lies. It's absolutely imperative that you measure key performance indicators, KPIs, in your practice so that you can make real-time decisions about what's happening in your practice. I'm going to give you an example of one of the things we do and the power of the data. In fact, I want to start with a quote. Things that are measured improve. When the data is reported back, the improvement can be absolutely amazing. That comes from Coach Bill Bowerman, the former track coach of the University of Oregon. By the way, he's also the co-founder with Phil Knight of a little company you might be familiar with called Nike. And anyway, one of the pieces of data that we measure is what % of the time that we reappoint our patients for their next hygiene appointment, Now, I want to show this by example. This is experience that I have with one of our clients where we started measuring what % of the time that we make the patient's next hygiene appointment. The office thought they were doing this almost 100% of the time. When we actually started measuring it, what we discovered was they were only making the appointment for the next hygiene appointment 42% of the time. And it was data that allowed us to have that knowledge. We use a company called Dental Intel. You'll see up on the screen their link. If you'd like to get a snapshot about how your practice is doing with real-time data, there's a link up on the screen. I'd encourage you to link that. It's free. It's something they do as a courtesy to members of the Seattle Study Club, and you can find out exactly how your practice is doing. Well, let me go ahead and try to wrap this up. So we talked about 3 tips that will help you develop a thriving practice in 2018 and beyond. Number 1, use digital photos for patient education. Number 2, create a remarkable new patient experience. And number 3, know your data. I'm going to close with a poem. The poem is called Promise Yourself. Promise Yourself by Christian Larson. Promise yourself to be so strong that nothing can disturb your mind. Promise yourself to talk health, happiness, and prosperity to everyone you meet. Promise yourself to help all your friends feel that there is something in them. Promise yourself to look at the sunny side of everything, make your optimism come true. Promise yourself to think only of the best, to work only for the best, and expect only the best. Promise yourself to be just as enthusiastic about the success of others as you are about your own. Promise yourself to forget the mistakes of the past and press on to the achievements of the future. Promise yourself to wear a cheerful countenance at all times and give every living creature you meet a smile. Promise yourself to give so much time to the improvement of yourself that you have no time to criticize others. And finally, promise yourself to be too large for worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to permit the presence of trouble. You know, the theme for this meeting, the 25th anniversary of the Seattle Study Club Symposium, is legacy. I have a question for you. What kind of legacy will you leave? You know, I want to take a minute and say thank you. Thanks to the Seattle Study Club for your passion and your commitment to quality care. You are truly changing lives. And that's your practice inspiration.